You're probably here because you're finding it a little bit difficult in finding your way about leadership, finding your way on how to manage people well, and finding your way on how to grow your business as an entrepreneur. Any one of these things are the topics that we cover. I'm your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. I am so glad that you took the first step of being here to learn more about leadership, entrepreneurship, and management because the world needs more people like you. We will help you to invest in yourself because that's something that is worth doing. That is something that is worth learning. If you have questions about entrepreneurship, maybe you're having problems at work or you're having some leadership problems or managing other people, boy, I have news for you. We have what we call a masterclass. Most of the courses in the masterclass deal with how you can generate revenue online. It deals with leadership, how to lead in crisis, how to break through the crisis in business, in entrepreneurship, and how you can manage other people better. Now, I always say the best kind of investment is an investment in yourself. And how much money are we charging for this masterclass? Not a lot. And if you invest in one, it's yours to keep. And if it doesn't, I'll refund you, no questions asked, full refund. So why don't you try it out? Head on over to sean.c/masterclass and check out any one of the courses if it fits any one of the questions in your head. And if you have any questions, you can just put it on the comment section and we'll get in touch with you. We want to know who you are and we want to hear from you. Until then, keep leading.
All right. Hey guys, good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Leadership Stack Live. We are on every Thursday night at 8 p.m. All right. It's been a standstill for the new year for the most part. We have been battling against COVID's Omicron variant, and a lot of businesses have suffered in terms of their teams being down, operations being out, and not being able to serve their customers that well or that consistently, at least until today. Hopefully, you guys and your teams are recovering well and you're on your way to be back on track. Now, before we begin with this week's questions, we just want to review what we have published in the podcast. If you haven't been following the podcast on Spotify, we have published more than 300 episodes already. And we're also on YouTube if you're more of the visual learner rather than the auditory learner. And this is all free. This week, we have Mr. Randall Jongson's latter episodes, Why Hard Work Yields Good Money Values. And we have Craig Schultz as well as a guest. So, how his personal brand story started. This is a very interesting startup story. You should hear it. This is worth your time for sure. 18 minutes of investment there in time listening. And how to grow and make yourself better. There's a 14, almost 15-minute episode with Craig Schultz as well. So if you're not following us on Spotify, please do so, and please do help share the show with your friends and family who might benefit from it and who will get value out of it. Okay. If you want to ask questions during the show, please do join us on Facebook or on Discord. We're going to be putting the link down here. It's going to be sliding there so you can join us. And ask your questions. Maybe you want to ask a question now. You can also do that via YouTube or LinkedIn if you're tuned in to YouTube or LinkedIn. People are tuned in everywhere. You might even be tuned in from Twitch or Twitter. Yeah, those are also two places where you can tune in. So let me start with the questions. Do you have any courses or classes you would recommend? We do have the masterclass, which at the get-go, at the beginning of this show, we roll that video all the time. Other than that, it would largely depend on what you want to learn. I am working on an SEO course with NAS Academy. So that's hopefully that's set to launch Q2 this year. But yeah, because of the COVID problem that we're facing, there were some setbacks. But yeah, we're still trying to work on that. Hopefully by Q2 this year. Huwag naman sana Q3. So hopefully Q2 we're able to launch that. So that's on SEO and digital marketing if you want to learn that. But it largely depends on what you want to learn. Um, yeah, there are so many course marketplace out there like Coursera or Udemy. There's just so many. There's also Masterclass, right? So it largely depends on what you want to learn. I can't really answer this question in a qualified way. Question from Zoe. There are times when I'm getting worried that yes, I know photography, design, coding, animating, and even video editing, but I'm not a master of even one of those. I think this is one quote. I think this one quote describes me well. Do you agree that Jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one? I think that in life, even in entrepreneurship, you have to have a good amount of knowledge in a lot of areas. So, for example, I know a significant amount of knowledge in contract writing. I'm not a lawyer and I did not study law, but I've read a lot of contracts, NDAs, contracts, CE agreements. I've read a lot during my time as CEO and founder. And I could say that I know what a lot of the clauses mean, miscellaneous clauses, whatever. I know what the clauses mean, but I'm not a master of law in the Philippines. I don't know a lot of the laws and how to deal with a lot of the laws here or how to understand a lot of the laws here or their consequences. But when it comes to business and contracts, that part of the law I am quite familiar about. So you are going to have to know a little bit about everything. I do believe that. But I don't agree in being a jack of all trades where you're trying to significantly improve your craft in a lot of multiple fronts in multiple directions. I think that if you want to significantly improve in something, like in my case, SEO is a three-pronged approach. That's how we approach it in SEO Hacker. But I know my strength in SEO lies with my being a wordsmith because writing is a passion of mine. I think that might be the place where I shine out the most. But I also know a competent amount when it comes to programming and technicals. So that gives me a big edge because usually when you're a content writer, you don't know how to code, you don't know how to read code, or logically think, a strain of a strain of logic might be difficult for you to uh, think about or to build as a programmer when you're a writer. So, and vice versa, when you're a programmer, might be hard for you to write very well in a way that it's an art form and people would love reading your stuff. So it's extremely rare for people to be really good writers and can communicate in art form with their words and also be really good in programming and understanding code and knowing the logic flow of algorithms. So I guess one of the reasons why I'm set apart as an SEO guy and we're ranking, we're the number one SEO company here in the country is because that's something that is super rare in a person, and I happen to have it and I happen to be developing that skill set of mine since I graduated college. Marketing is another facet of SEO, and you got to be good in marketing who you are, marketing your website, marketing your clients, selling for them, knowing their product, knowing their brand voice. That's very important. So having all of that is very important, and I did develop them so that I can become a better SEO specialist. In fact, the best I can be. But I can only develop one of those facets at any given point in time. You can't juggle all three at the same time and then become better in reading contracts, and then become better in accounting, and then become better in networking. It's hard to be a master at all fronts. So if you want to be a jack of all trades, I do think that you got to know a little bit of something about everything if you're going to be an entrepreneur. But I also believe that you cannot really invest a lot of time significantly improving something alongside other things that you're also trying to significantly improve. You can only do it one at a time, right? And once you get to a certain level that you're gonna be happy about, or you already have a good grasp of the skill, then I think you should stop there. So I'm not gonna go ahead and say I'm a master programmer, because I'm not. I can understand code, I can analyze logic flows and algorithms, but I'm not a master when it comes to those things. I could say in content writing, I might be one of the above average, or maybe some. I don't know how good I am compared to other people, but I think that might be one of my greatest competencies. So yeah, but in terms of programming, definitely not. Marketing, I'm okay. I'm not the best, so I kind of stopped somewhere, just for them to be more than enough to support my being the best SEO guy I can be. Yeah, so there are inherent gifts and talents that we have, and then there are skills that we need to hone. So the inherent gifts and talents that I have would be writing and communicating and leading. And the skills that I needed to hone that are not inherent to me, they're not a God-given talent or gift that I was born with, or I found it super easy, or I found it that I really love these things, would be programming and marketing, right? Those skills I had to learn. So I hope that answer makes sense, because this is a pretty tough question as well, for me to answer. And it's not uncommon. I think that this question has been asked before. It's always a tough thing to answer this question for me, because you can't really be like just specialize in one thing, because if that's the case, you're going to be a really good employee, but not an entrepreneur. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you got to know a little bit of everything. But yeah, so that's how I think I'm going to be approaching it. You just got to know enough, but you got to focus on your giftings, your talents, and use that to grow your business. How would I know if what skills should I develop? Yeah, I guess this is follow-up question. How would you know what skills you should develop among those that you mentioned earlier, which is programming, designing, coding, animating, and video editing? I think that it would largely depend on what you love most out of all of those things, and where you can grow the most in terms of being able to sell that, or being able to grow the business that you want, right? So for me, it's writing, but I also needed to be really good in web development and design to build my first website, SEO Hacker. But I wasn't the best. Like, if you look at SEO Hacker, when I created it, maybe the first 2 or 3 years, it looked really bad. It wasn't great, right? But I could argue not a lot of websites looked fantastically well during that time also. So I guess that made it okay. But I wasn't great in design and development. I knew enough, wasn't great. But my writing skills were, again, was my great and is my greatest competency, and that brought me through. You don't need to have a great website, when the value that I really bring is I teach SEO and how I do it, and all my experiments and its results. So, and I also analyze a lot of the SEO effects of new algorithms, releases, launches, penalties by Google. That is what really brings value for my blog. Not really the design, not really the development, the site speed during that time didn't matter much. It's really how I wrote, how people understood the things I wrote, and how valuable they were to rising digital marketers or SEO specialists back then. So I guess you gotta analyze which of these skill sets are going to be valuable for you, which do you love most, and what's going to bring you the most returns, either if you're building a business or if you're selling it outright. Hope that helps. Next follow-up question, I guess. To be able to lead others, I should start with myself. How can I lead myself? Oh, this is not a follow-up question. I guess this is a new question. How you can lead yourself? Discipline. I mean, like 99% of people who make New Year's resolutions find it extremely hard to keep them and usually fall off in the first month, right? First month, not even the first quarter, just first month, they fall off. They don't follow through and they're not able to build that habit. And that the reason behind that is it's so hard to lead yourself. It's so hard to get up at a certain time in the morning, right? You want to wake up 5:30, 6 a.m. Yun pa lang, minsan hirap na hirap ka na eh. Minsan sobrang challenge na yun eh. So, leading yourself is the place to start. So I like this question where you already realize that, how can I lead myself? One of the things that you have to build on are really good habits. And our church, CCF, I attend CCF for Christ Commission Fellowship, is live streaming about habits this year. Really, really good stuff. I highly suggest that you tune in. You can just search CCF in YouTube and you'll be able to find the episodes there. um, Habits dictate your level of leadership, right? Who you are as a leader is largely formed by your habits. And that, for me, would be how you can lead yourself. What kind of person do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be someone who wakes up early in the morning? Do you want to be someone who your employees will look up to because you finish a lot of work umaga pa lang? Or do you want to be someone who is in tune with your spiritual life and you want that to pour over to everything you do and everyone that you influence? Then you have to have the discipline and the habit of reading God's word and praying and meditating every day. So having those habits is, for me, the critical thing for you to be able to lead yourself well. And there were questions before about my morning routine. I keep optimizing that, I keep changing that, I keep on improving that, depending on what would bring me the most value and energy and ideas in the morning, all the way to the afternoon. And I also want my morning routine to be, in a way, tiring, so that at night, I'm already groggy or asleep by 8 to 10 p.m. somewhere there, right? So for me, that is going to be dictated by habits. It can be a one-off thing that I sleep early today, automatic na yun, bukas maaga rin ako matutulog. At automatic na yun, for the entire week, maaga na ako matutulog dahil lang maaga ako natulog ngayon. It's not automatic like that. It's a decision that you make, and you have to build a system around it. You have to build your habits. So I think that if you're able to lead yourself that way in sticking with good habits and eliminating bad ones, it would make it much easier, way easier for you to be able to lead others. Because now you know how to lead yourself, you know how to push yourself, you know how to build good habits. Then you can pour that out to other people because you can't give what you don't have. And I guess that also answers this follow-up question. Why is it important to lead yourself first? It's important because if you can't lead yourself, other people will see that. And they're going to perceive that you can't even lead yourself. This is why it's very hard for people to follow someone who, for example, has a hard time disciplining himself or herself when it comes to food, or when it comes to health, or when it comes to sleeping habits, waking habits, being late. It's hard for people to follow, a leader like that, because they see that it's so evident that you're struggling with something that is a bad habit in your life. So you got to fix things in your life. It's never going to be perfect also. So don't be discouraged with me saying this, because up until today, I do have habits that I do need to improve on and fix. I do. I know I do. And I am trying to consciously improve on these bad habits of mine and change them and turn them into good habits. So don't be discouraged when I say that you gotta change those habits, especially the ones that people see. Otherwise, they're not gonna follow you, or it's gonna be hard for them to commit to follow you, because life's like that, and a lot of leaders struggle with that. Not just new leaders, even leaders who have been leading for decades struggle with that and still have to improve. So hope that helps. Um, from Amp Maliari, hello, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. And you have a question. I believe it's also important that you consider your network. What does your network need? How can you bless your network with the skills you have? That will determine what skill you can focus on. Yeah, definitely. So it's not a question. This is an add-on to my answer to the question earlier. Consider your network. Yes. So for example, yung tanong kanina, you got a lot of people in your network who are requiring photography skills or videography skills. Then maybe focusing on those skills and selling them might be the better way to go. It would depend on that. That is a good answer. Thanks for that, Amp, for adding to that um, answer for that question. Question from Pam: what leadership skills do you find most useful? Integrity, humility, and being able to communicate well. So I think that's those three things. Well, humility and integrity are character traits, so that they're not skills, strictly speaking. But it's critical to have them. They're foundational character traits, nonetheless. I think when it comes to skills, communication would be at the top of my list because if people cannot understand what you're trying to say, then you can't lead them. Another leadership skill would be the ability to, can I say, discipline yourself? Yeah, is discipline a skill? No, probably not, right? Probably not. I think taking command of a situation is a skill. So, having command of a situation, especially if there is a crisis happening, like when COVID hit last year, and a lot of companies and teams were they just didn't know what to do. With SEO Hacker, we immediately decided. Me and my execom this immediately decided on a work from home setup. We didn't even think twice about that. We took command of the situation and we made plans immediately on what we're gonna do, so that we can serve our clients no problem. They're not even going to feel that there was a hiccup in our service. So we wanted to serve clients in a seamless, consistent way. And how we can do that is if we transition well and smoothly and seamlessly into a work from home setup. So thank God that we have had work from home rules and setups even before the pandemic. So we just applied that to everyone. But yeah, taking command of a situation, especially in crisis, is a very useful skill. Communicating well, making sure your counterpart understands what you're trying to say is another very important leadership skill. And I guess negotiation, effective negotiation is a useful leadership skill because you negotiate with everyone. I negotiate with my kids that they have to eat their veggies, or that they have to sleep early. You negotiate with your house help. You negotiate with your seller of fruits, the local fruit vendor. You negotiate with your clients. You negotiate with your people when they want to raise or when they want a day off. So negotiation is another very useful skill, and how you develop that is by learning through books and by being in negotiation tables with your counterparts. We do have some episodes about negotiation in the podcast. You just have to search leadership staff negotiation on Spotify. I'm sure you'll find it. Those are really, really good episodes because you're gonna learn a lot, and we packed it. We packed so much negotiation knowledge and wisdom into very short episodes so that you can just listen to it and learn. So yeah, I guess those are the three most useful and important leadership skills that I would be sharing here: communication, and taking command of a situation, and negotiation, for sure. As a leader, how do you ensure that projects and tasks are completed on time? We set deadlines, right? For me, I'm a deadline kind of guy. I'm known as Mr. Deadline in our team. And I always ask for deadlines because for me, I do believe that if you don't have deadlines, then it has an infinite timeline and people can do it whenever they want and it's not going to get done, right? So I always ask for deadlines. Sometimes when people can't get back to me with the deadline, I give them a deadline on when to give me the deadline, right? So that's how important deadlines are for me. And it trickles down to everyone else in my team so that they know that deadlines are a very important part of how we do things in SEO Hacker. Right now, the deadlines are being given by my project manager. So I personally don't put a lot of deadlines in a lot of the projects we have now, but I do have deadlines on my own projects and on certain clients that are still directly communicating with me. So I put deadlines on them. Yeah, so if you don't put deadlines and you don't enforce them, meaning, if the project goes past the deadline, there's going to be a penalty, there's going to be a notice to explain, or there's going to be, a tap in the back, and yeah, I'm going to check back on what's happening, why is this not being done. Then yeah, I don't think that stuff's going to get done, or stuffs are going to be completed on time if you don't have deadlines. So that's the first thing that you got to do. You got to have deadlines, you got to enforce your deadlines. How do you handle difficult situations as a leader? I kneel down and I pray. That's it. That's the best thing you can do. That's the first thing that I do. And if I realize if I don't kneel down and pray in a difficult situation, I don't have a lot of patience about that situation. And when you don't have a lot of patience about that situation, nothing good can come out of that. So I always pray to God and ask God for wisdom and what should I do in the certain situation that He put on my lap. Because I do believe that all difficult situations are placed there by God to improve our character, test us, to help us to learn from it. So what better way than to ask Him for wisdom and help, right? It's like a cheat sheet. You ask God, Lord, what happened? Why is this here? But more importantly, how can I overcome this? How can I get over this? What do you need me to do? What do you want me to do? And whatever God tells me, that's what I do. That's how I execute. Sometimes I get to hear from Him from that prayer. Sometimes I get to hear from Him from mentors and other people who share the same faith and value as I do. Or sometimes I hear from Him from His Word. He speaks to me in my quiet time, and I get ideas and wisdom from that and what to do. Aside from that, I do ask my execom about their opinion, since they're hands on ground and they usually know what's happening, and they give me good advice as well. And if I can't turn to my execom because it might be a bigger problem or something that is not in their field of expertise, I do ask help from people who are experts in the field. Some of them just are so willing to help, and I'm grateful to have friends and mentors like that. But some of them, I really don't know them much, and I just ask them for time. That's it, right? And I tell them I'm gonna pay it back someday if they need help and advice when it comes to SEO and digital marketing, or in starting up a company. I'm gonna pay it back someday, and they know I'm good with my word because I'm a man of gratitude, and utang na loob is a very big deal for me. And if I have utang na loob, I really pay my debts. So yeah, I hope that helps. That's how I handle difficult situations as a leader. How do you motivate your team to become leaders and not just followers? Um, I tell people leadership is about serving others, right? And at the beginning, people want to be leaders in a company or in an organization because there's rapport. There's a little bit of you get a little bit more famous in a way because you're a team lead. You get to be promoted financially because you're a team lead. You get more responsibility as well, which may be fun for some people. Also, you get to delegate more work to others, which again might be fun for some people. But we don't really tell them that it's fun to become team lead because of this, and that. We tell them if you want to be team lead, you have to make sure you want to serve others, because leadership is all about serving others, right? What I teach here in the podcast is exactly what I do in SEO Hacker. And so I tell them that if you want to lead, it's because you should be wanting to serve others, not because you want to be served or you want more perks or you want to be recognized better, but you want to serve others. And I find that when you explain it that way to people, that people are willing to step up. People are willing to step up. You don't need to motivate them, to push them. they're gonna step up because people do want to be used for the greater good, right? We have that inherent desire to be used to do something bigger and better and greater than us. And what better way to do that than to serve others? So here in our organization, we watch out for each other and we help each other. We ask people like, what can I do for you? How can I help this week? Is there something that I can help with? Right? Um, yeah. But we don't like tell people na, you should become a leader because of this, because of that. You should not just be a follower, you should not just be an employee. We don't tell them that. We really don't. Some companies might, I don't know, but we don't do that in SEO Acro. We just tell them, if you want to lead, then you got to want to serve others. And if that's in your heart, then just let us know and we will let you lead. How do you ensure that your team members would learn to demonstrate leadership in a way that fits your company culture? Well, leadership, you know, is not really that hard to see, right? If people take initiative and you can see other people are following them, you know that person's a leader. It's not hard to find a leader. It's not hard to see when someone is a leader. It's actually quite easy. So I cannot ensure that they would demonstrate leadership, but we do have every opportunity in place for people to demonstrate good leadership in their way. How? Well, there are times that we're being tested, difficult times. Like last year, there was a lot of work. There's a lot of clients who came in. There's a lot of work to be done. And people who stepped up to be able to meet the needs of our clients and our team. Immediately, you could see them. And people who shrank, or people who took a lot of breaks, or people who, are talking about resigning, then, they're not really cut out to be a leader or to be the leader they can be. They can't be the best leader they can be if their mindset is like that. So you can't make sure that, this is the question is, how do you ensure? We can't make sure that our team members would demonstrate leadership, but they do have every opportunity to demonstrate leadership if they wanted to. Tough times do come. Tough times come. And that is the time when they can step up and demonstrate good leadership or not. Right? So opportunities would come in times of change and challenges. In times of comfort, like, people will not really step up. Comfortable eh. Comfortable. Hindi siya step up. They can't really demonstrate anything during times of comfort. What have you done to ensure that? Okay, this is a follow-up question to this. What are your weaknesses as a leader? One of my weaknesses is I'm not as hands-on as I should be, I think. Yeah, I'm not as hands-on as I should be. One of the things is I do a lot of things and I think a lot and I prioritize that. And sometimes people under my wing feel like I am too aloof. So I guess that might be a weakness of mine. I haven't gotten that feedback yet from my people. Maybe they want less of me in the team because I always ask people to do stuff. So maybe they didn't tell me that, oh, you're too aloof, you're too hands off. Maybe that's why they don't tell me that. But I feel like I might be like that because I don't like micromanaging people. I don't like breathing down people's necks as well. So I just get out of their way, let them do their thing. But I can also be too hands off or too aloof. I feel like that might be one of my weaknesses as a leader. Another would be I'm too straight when I say something, too truthful, and not a lot of love in my words. And that hurts a lot of people. That one I know is really a weakness of mine because some people in my team have talked with me about it. And I say words that hurt, that cut to the bone. And that is something that I have tried to consciously improve, and I'm paying the price to improve. So I've been improving that, since years ago. And I do feel and think that I'm getting better because I have less and less of that feedback now. In fact, I'm not sure when I last heard that feedback about me. Thank God. I also ask people to pray for me when it comes to my words, my temper, and yeah. And I have a lot of Bible verses as well that I had to memorize, and they're on index cards here on my desk. One of them would be Ephesians 4:29. Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear. Right, and I have other memory verses here that I had to memorize and apply in my life because that helps a lot. That helps a whole lot in helping me to get over my weakness. So yeah, what have I done to ensure that I fix those weaknesses? They would be turned into strengths. I don't think it would ever be turned into strengths, but it could be turned into a non-weakness, which I do believe is happening right now. And I went through biblical counseling, so I that was kind of like a laid bare moment to my counselor, biblical counselor, because I told my counselor that I wanted to overcome my weakness of always being too truthful that it hurts and it cuts to the bone of other people and they're offended, or nothing gets to them anymore because when I speak it's just slam dunk, right? Slap on their face. And that is a weakness of mine. I asked for help a lot of times, and the biblical counseling helped me a lot. So yeah, might work for you too. If you need a biblical counselor to help you overcome your weakness, let me know. I can refer someone who helped me get out of my rut. Are there companies you find important to base your company's leadership style after? Not really. I am an eternal student. I read a lot of books, but I'm a slow reader, so I haven't read a lot of books. A whole lot. I haven't read a whole lot of books yet compared to other readers. But I've read pretty much a lot of books already. But that's just me, right? So based on the things that I read, I just take what can be applied in SEO Hacker and I experiment on that. That's how I build on my leadership. I don't really like looking at other companies. I don't like looking to the left or to the right. I don't like racing against competition. I don't like asking around what's this company doing, what that other company is doing. I don't like doing that. I just want to do my own time, run my own race, and innovate by myself. And the effects of that is actually my competitors are actually the ones copying what it is we're doing in SEO Hacker. Which I'm happier about that. Instead of us copying them, they're copying us. I guess I'm happier about that. But yeah, I don't like looking at other companies. I like experimenting on my own and getting best practice ideas from other people and other authors and thought leaders. Hope that helps. Hey Mac, any tips for a startup tech in the PH? How to start? By the way, new book po sana. My new book was published on 2020 pandemic. 50x your business. But it's there. The hard copy is not out yet. I haven't had it printed yet because of the pandemic. But yeah, it's in Amazon. If you want to download it, there's an ebook. You can buy it from Amazon. Yeah, so you can search for that 50x your business. I think we do have the link here somewhere. Leadme.ph/50x. Lara can point us in that direction. Tips for startup tech in the PH. I guess if you're starting up, make sure that you have a plan to make your revenue greater than your expenses. Because especially sa tech startups, minsan you're too consumed by the idea and concept that you don't check if your revenue is still greater than expenses or when your revenue can be greater than expenses. For me, I don't like burning the runway too much. I want the revenue to be greater than expenses as soon as possible to achieve ROI as soon as possible. I don't like building it the Silicon Valley way. That's too risky for me. And anyway, we don't have investors like Silicon Valley does, where they can just invest, like millions and millions of dollars and you can burn that. Here, we don't have that leeway. We don't have that advantage. I'm a bootstrap entrepreneur. I started with my own capital of 1,300 pesos. I don't have investors. I never had anyone invest in the business. So if you're asking me for advice, a bootstrap entrepreneur, I would say make sure that your revenue is greater than expenses. And if it's not now, then make sure that it's pretty soon, right? And keep it that way. Keep it that way. Otherwise, your business has a good chance of failing. And sayang naman, if you have a really good concept and your startup, it would be such a shame if your startup burned to the ground just because di mo nabantayan, right? Revenue was not bigger than expenses, and expenses ate up your revenue and your capital. Sayang yun. So I guess that's a basic tip, but an important one as well. Also, if you're a tech startup, broaden your network, go to networking events. I know it's tough now to do that, but once we can go to networking events, seminars, introduce yourself to other people in the tech industry and get to know other people in the tech industry because they're going to be able to help you. You're going to be able to help them, and they're going to be able to refer you to some more people that you might need to get in touch with. And that helps to exponentially grow your business. So again, basic advice, but you might not even, you might even already know these things, but you do need to practice them. And these are very, very important tips that I'm giving you. Simple, but critical to your startup. Okay, we are down to our last few questions. What is it about leadership that you want your team members to learn? What is it about leadership that you want your team members to learn? I guess I want my team members to learn that leadership is critical not just to their work or to our organization, but to their life. If you're not a better leader today than you were yesterday, then you're not a better person today than you were yesterday. That's it. It can be summed up in that because leadership is about serving others and adding value to others. If, as a human being and as a person, you are not that, then you got a long way to go and you got to be a student of leadership. Leadership is all about leading yourself first, adding value to yourself first, right? Serving yourself first to become better and grow and be perpetually growing in what you know so that you can serve others and give value others and help them to grow as well. You cannot give if you don't have it. So, yeah, I guess I want my team members to learn that because we do have that notion that there are people who are born for leadership or there are people who are lucky enough to have that position and they're called to be leaders. But in reality, everyone's called to be a leader. Everyone is called to be a leader. If you're not leader of many, you're a leader of at least yourself. If you're not leading yourself, then who's going to lead your family? Then who's going to lead your kids? Then who's going to lead, anyone who's reliant on you, right? Could be colleagues, could be family members. No one's going to be able to lead them because you can't even lead yourself. So you have to be able to learn to lead yourself. You have to be a student of leadership. It is so important. It's not just about your work. It's not just about your organization. It's about your life. That is what I hope my team members would learn and really put to heart. I don't think that has sunk to everyone in my team, but we have always given the impression that leadership is super important. In fact, that is one big reason why we have the podcast. That's one big reason why I am doing this and sacrificing my 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Thursday nights instead of having it recuperating or spending that time with my family. I'm doing this. And this, I hope, is a testament to my entire team of how strongly I believe leadership is going to change your life and is going to change your finances, career. And, it's super important. Sadly, not a lot of people in the Philippines think this way. And I hope that this podcast helps turn that around. That is the last question. And as dramatic as it sounds, it's quite true. And I hope that you who are tuned in here would help by sharing this podcast to your friends and family to help change that, help turn that around. I know it's election season right now. We're seeing the tarpaulins, we're seeing the billboards, the ads on YouTube, and we sorely lack really good leaders here in our country. That's what I can say. And we got limited choices. We got to choose well. And because of the lack of leaders as well in the population, the masses might not be able to choose well because no one's leading them to the right path also. So that's how important leadership is. But sadly, more people would rather spend more time on entertainment, right? Netflix or some entertainment channel on the local air. Yeah, it's quite sad that way. But yeah, we are on a mission to change that. That's the good news, right? And you're part of that. You who are tuned in can share this episode with friends and family and help spread the word. I hope this helps, and I hope you've learned something tonight and have gotten value out of it. And again, Leadership Stack Live is every Thursday night at 8 p.m. And we do publish 3 episodes a week on Spotify. Hope you're tuned into that. And we do reflect those episodes as well on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to YouTube, please do so. The YouTube link is there, leadme.ph/YouTube. Thank you so much. And Max says, salamat po. Malaking influence po kay Sahan. Wow. Thanks, Mac. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm happy for that. And thank you for your kind words as well. You are a blessing. So take care, guys. I hope to see you next week. God bless you.